how about your buddies at the NCAA?
How about them?
Yeah, your buddies over there who they're a little bit intimidated. So you remember we were talking about Oklahoma State, and we thought it was a little bit hypocritical that Mike Gundy came out and said, I'm telling all these players that come back to me in December. Transfer portal's over. Stop having your agents call and ask for money and all the other things that come along with it. And it was like, oh, okay, listen, he's got a point. Season's here. Let's focus on the stuff that matters.
And then boom.
And then they announced they're going to have these QR codes on their helmet to where you can scan the QR code for their Week 1 game and you can donate to their NIL fund. And it's like, well, it seems a little bit
pretty brilliant.
I mean, it's a brilliant
cheesy,
idea.
But it's kind of brilliant.
But it was also kind of hypocritical that Mike Gundy was saying that. And then they come out and say, oh, but by the way, you can use our players' helmets to donate to our NIL fund during games, when he was saying the opposite or something different than that a short time before that. Well, the NCAA said no. The NCAA prevented Oklahoma State from using the QR codes on the helmets linked to their NIL fund with the school. The school said in a statement that it interpreted the QR codes as, quote, institutional decals permitted under NCAA bylaws, while the NCAA said the stickers were, quote, advertising and or commercial marks. This feels like the NCAA was a little late to the party on the idea and realized, well, no, that doesn't work for us.
Or we send it to them for final approval. There's just so many gray areas anymore. I think that the idea of when are you supposed to say something or when are you not, like all of the rules governing licensing agreements, who owns those spaces, this, that, and the other. There's just a lot of things that are going to be left up to interpretation as the NCAA, as college football, as college sports moves deeper into this NIL era of time. There's no way around it.
Oklahoma State's AD came out and said, we disagree with the interpretation of the rule, but we will abide by it and work with the appropriate groups to lead on the needed change. Our people came up with an innovative concept to raise the NIL value for our student athletes, but ultimately it just serves as the latest example of, here's the catch one, here's what makes the most sense, of how college sports are evolving at a faster pace than the rule book.
That's good, yeah. It's kind of what I just hit you on.
100% spot on.
Yeah.
Like, that's all this is. Like, the NCAA was late to the party.
And they're losing money. Like, add that to the equation. The only reason why it's a big stink is because some way, somehow, they're not getting their cut of it. Anytime you take a license holder, from whether it be the PR, like social media, whatever it may be, when you own the media rights, you have to find ways to get your money. Big Ten, they own media rights. They have to find their ways to get their money. What if those QR codes some way, somehow devalue their ability to say, okay, well, this customer here paid this much in advertising through the NCAA. But now they're like, you know what? Why don't we just put our QR code? Why don't we just pay to have our QR code on, their jersey or on their helmet? There's just so many things that could change the way that the NCAA is able to do their business. Same thing for TV, TV stations. Same thing for advertising agencies. All the rules as it applies to this within the NIL are so fluid right now and moving so quickly that if you're not asking, which in a way is almost impossible, how can the NCAA put together a rule book? How can the NCAA say what you can and you can't do when they don't even fully understand it all yet? They don't fully understand NIL yet. So how do you put rules out there that govern it, but then, come back, no QR codes on the helmet? I wonder, did they give a reasoning as to why they don't want the QR codes on the helmet?
The wording that was used, let me get back to the exact quote from the NCAA. They said it was, quote, advertising and or commercial marks.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they control that.
Yeah. It's just, It's kind of like when Tony Romo did the fantasy football. He was trying to do some fantasy football convention in Vegas, I think it was. And this was years ago. Probably 10 years ago at this point, or a little less than 10 years ago. But the NFL stepped in and said, absolutely not. No, this would be, we look at this as like a form of gambling, and it's like a form of gambling and all this other stuff that comes along with it. And then you fast forward a couple of years later, and gambling's everywhere in the NFL, like DraftKings, like it's everywhere. And so, they just had a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. They've had Pro Bowls in Las Vegas. Like, there's a team in Las Vegas when not that long ago, Tony Romo having a fantasy football convention there was frowned upon by the league, and Roger Goodell speaking out against it. And I kind of look at it like this, to where the NFL was, wait a second. There's all the, well, hold on. Before anybody else can do anything, let us get our piece of the pie. Like, let us go ahead and see what we can get from all this, because once you realize you can make a significant amount of money from it, then you're looking at it going, oh, okay, well, that makes the most sense. That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
The NCAA is going to do it.
Yeah.
Now that we're saying you can do it, now you can do it. Right? Now we get our cut. As long as they're getting their cut, they're going to be okay with it. But if you're doing something that continues to cut them out of the scenario and the circle, that's not what they paid for, right? If they belong to Playfly or the other one, what's the other one? Learfield, right? If they belong, if their rights have been purchased by these entities and they're running the media rights of these schools, controlling the logos, controlling the advertising, controlling all the dollars that go into the brand, if you sold that off, then now it becomes pretty interesting as to what the conversation is between the university, the media rights licensor of the brand of the school, and the NCAA. There's like all kinds of different conversations that are ensuing that have to take place, because everybody is still trying to make their money, and you're trying to make your money off of these athletes. And so now that only goes so far, right? Like, so now, say for instance, here's a great, maybe a decent example. Say you have a player that gets, like Shedeur Sanders got that shoe deal. Well, what if some way, somehow, he did that shoe deal and it was with Adidas, even though the school is a Nike school?
That says Adidas,
right? I can spell. See that shoe? It says Adidas. But the point is, okay, where is the line drawn? Well, you sign a contract, you come here, you have to wear Nike gear, you have to wear Nike shoes, da-da-da. If you're playing in the game, you got to wear Nike. But what if kids start coming in and start negotiating like, I'm not wearing Nike. Adidas, Puma came out of the blue, said they want me to wear. New Balance said they want me to wear their shoe. They're going to make me a signature shoe. I'm going to do this. There's all kinds of things that can become problematic as we continue to move into it. You saw the kid in Carolina, he's suing the state because they don't want to allow NIL at the high school level, but in other states, they're open for business. You're keeping this kid away from being able to monetize himself and his name, image, and his likeness with his brand because of what? It's like all comes back to control. You've been making money off of these kids for so long that you got so inundated with what would happen if something like this were to take place. And the worst case scenario that could have taken place for the NCAA is for athletes to actually be in a situation where they're allowed to monetize themselves. It's the worst scenario that could have played out for them.
So my nephew plays at Middle Tennessee, and I've only heard just some stories, a couple of stories from my brother telling me about their dealings with schools and just stories that they've heard about money that's been thrown around and so on and so forth. And it's wild to think how much the landscape has changed, man. Like, it's
because you can openly talk about money with players.
It
was so taboo.
Does that feel uncomfortable for you still?
No, not anymore. But it did in the beginning. It was like, because what's legal? Like, you don't want to get in trouble, and you don't want to get to, like, what's legal?
Because your son was recruited by multiple D1 schools, and, like, I can't imagine.
Well, and the first thing I'm saying to them, like, when we go into it is, like, we're not motivated by the money you can offer him. We don't need that. He's not coming here for the money. He's coming here for the opportunity, the education, the the athletics. He wants to win, and he wants to get a good education from a reputable university. So there were a lot of factors that played into it. One of them was not NIL, because I do NIL. I specialize in NIL. Go to disruptupsu.com.
What up, Disrupt You?
Yeah, go check it out. But that's what, learning and understanding the NIL space and what it represents, Jonas, has been what I've been doing, what I've been pretty much building my company based off of, is just being as educated as you possibly can. And I'll tell you what, there are just so many gray areas, and those gray areas create loopholes, and it creates opportunity. And within all of those loopholes and those opportunities, some people are going to get deals done that are advantageous to their businesses, and it's advantageous to the schools. And the NCAA and these media rights companies are going to have to figure out what are the rules that they have to put into the contracts that they're doing with these schools anymore. They're going to have to rewrite the rule books. They're going to have to get these schools to re-agree to different terms that are surrounding the NIL. They're going to have to do it.
What happened to simpler days when it was blue chips and Ricky Rowe got a tractor? You know what I mean? Like just a duffel bag full of cash. Anthony Hardaway's mom got a job in Chicago.
Get to just tell him what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we got your dad at that church. Like, just shut up and play ball.
You remember when Ricky Rowe went into Nick Nolte and said, I'm going to need more of this cash?
Yeah.
And Nick Nolte kicked him out of the office. Yeah. Like nowadays, it's like you would have to negotiate with those guys.
Yes. You got to negotiate. And you're not negotiating with them.
Listen, we've got it, but it's in 20s. Is that okay?
I wonder what these agents are charging. I wonder what they're charging. I would love to know what these agents for these kids that are doing these NIL deals are charging these kids for a deal.
Because anybody can be the agent now.
Because anybody can be the agent. So you like, hey, bro, I'm going to get you this, but we're going to go 50-50 on it. What you mean? Yeah, man, I got you this signing, da-da-da. You're going to take this, I'm going to take this. It's like, all right, I got it. I mean, what are you going to say? Is your homie or your brother or your uncle or your mom?
You're too good for us now? You're going to forget where you came from?
Dads, I'm certain dads are a major factor in all of this. I'm certain of that, especially the ones that think that they have business savvy. They're involved. They are probably the main ones trying to facilitate deals for their kids.
Look at the story that just came out, that Tagovailoa's dad, and how involved he was in, getting to his brother Talia out of Maryland, or potentially out of Maryland. Auburn was in the mix.
Maryland.
Yeah,
they got him into Maryland, by the way.
And then you hear all those stories about just the negotiations, the back and forth, squeezing, the coaching staff to try and come up with some more money for them to play in a bowl game. I couldn't imagine even 5-6 years ago that would be conversations that would be had in public. Like this would be real conversations.
Nonetheless, you've been generating a gazillion dollars off of one of the best sports spectacle days in all of sports.
Yeah.
Saturdays. You've monetized so amazingly. That's why you got all these conference shifts and realignments. That's why everybody's joining one another to generate more money in the end. And so now you're going to, because it's going to come to a point of where they have to revenue share what they're doing with the TV money. They're going to have to do that with these athletes. It's just going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And this is one of those rare moments that you're seeing the governing body of the NCAA actually having maybe the last moments of them being able to actually dictate to major Power 5 programs. At what point will the NCAA lose any type of governing power over these schools? Because it's a strong possibility that maybe NCAA only ends up having a certain level, mid-majors, FCS. It might come a time where the top Power 5s become independent. because of all of the rules and all of the red tape and the moments like these where the NCAA can come in and say, "Now you're not doing this."